The following program is brought to you in part by the film Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace.
Welcome to another Leon Charney report. We have an exclusive today. We have the man, a gutsy man, who said, you know what, Israel is shaky now. A lot of problems there. Oslo peace process not moving, religious problems, pluralism problems. He said, I'm going to resign, which is unheard of in political terms, as the mayor of Tel Aviv and go forward and become the prime minister of Israel, at least advocate myself to become the prime minister. So welcome, Roni Milo. You're a gutsy guy.
People are saying so in Israel.
What happened there? You, by the way, you're part of the original princes of the Likud. You, Mary Dor, even Ruby Rivlin, Benny. They must be really happy about this, huh?
They are very unhappy about the leadership of the Likud now, about Prime Minister Netanyahu. And they, part of them, of course, would, at least Mr. Meridor, was very happy about that move. And
Dan Meridor, who was the finance minister and resigned under pressure probably from Mr. Netanyahu.
And he said that he's not going to run next time with Netanyahu because he lost his faith in the Prime Minister. And therefore it's very reasonable that we are going to cooperate this way or another the next elections. And I took the decision, which was very complicated decision for me. Because
very gutsy.
Yeah, in November we are going to have elections in Tel Aviv, and all the public opinion polls shows that I'm surely elected, and even the other parties didn't put candidates against me. But I took the decision because I thought that the country is more important than the city of Tel Aviv, even if I love the city of Tel Aviv, and it's a great city, wonderful and really important. But still the country is more important, and we are facing two major issues now in Israel. One of them is the peace process that is stuck, and the other one is the freedom of choice in Israel, freedom of religion, freedom for everyone to choose his way of life. And we are also facing a huge problem about it, and a fear in the public in Israel, especially in those who are not religious, not extreme religious, of those who are trying to enforce them to live in different way that they would like to. We have the problem with the liberals, reforms, conservatives in the United States, the Jews here, that also suffer from the same problems. And I think that something should be done, and I couldn't stay aside being mayor, enjoy myself and enjoy the wonderful city of Tel Aviv, and leaving the major issue, which is the future of the state of Israel, towards the 21st century.
Ronnie, you and I know each other a long time, since the Camp David days, when I was advocating for Ezer Weitzman and Jimmy Carter. You were pretty strong Likudnik then, and you were very close to Yitzhak Shamir. Yitzhak Shamir abstained from voting for the peace treaty. I believe that's true, right? I think he abstained. I'm pretty sure he abstained.
He abstained, and I remember it very well because it took me about 5 or 6 meetings with him, long hours, discussions to late at night, not to vote against.
Is that right?
Yeah, he wanted to vote against it, and I convinced him at least to abstain, because I believe that the Camp David Accords were the right move to do. The peace process at that time was very promising, and I think that we did very good a step. Menachem Begin, Ezra Weizmann, Moshe Dayan, who did the peace with Egypt, did a very important thing about the future of Israel and the life in Israel. Since then, it's almost 20 years. None of Israeli soldiers was killed in this border. We had peace with Egypt. We are still in peace with Egypt. We would like, of course, to have better and warm peace and better relations with Egypt, but still, as Menachem Begin said, the misery of peace, it's much better than suffering and pain of war.
So then ideologically, it wasn't such a big thing. I mean, do people know, because they know that you were Shamir, do they know that you were really pushing Shamir to abstain?
I'm not sure that everybody knows it, but I think that it's quite, my position was always very clear about the peace process with Egypt. I voted in favor of it, of course. I was many years during the time that I was member of the government with Yitzhak Shamir as a prime minister. I supported the withdrawal from Gaza Strip. I thought that it's useless for Israel to stay there, and we pay such a high price of life of soldiers in Gaza. What for? To stay there with 700,000 Palestinians in Gaza without any need. And I tried to convince Shamir to do it. He was very tough. He didn't accept it. But still, we are very good friends still today. We have different opinions, but I really respect him a lot, and I think that he's one of the greatest leaders that we have in Israel. And I think that he doesn't agree with me, but I think that he likes me.
I once got an autographed book from Moshe Aarons. He said to my friend Leon Charney, who I'm sure disagrees with me on most things.
I can get the same book from Shamir.
Did he call you after you announced?
Oh yeah, we spoke a little bit about it, and he hesitates a lot because he doesn't, I think, he's not very happy with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
No, I can tell you he's not. We can play tapes and show you.
Okay. And
he said the man does not have character, right on my show.
And he's also not very happy with my, let's say, dovish positions about the peace process. But I think that personally he would wish me luck, whatever I'm doing now, and my efforts to change the reality in Israel now and to have better Israel for the 21st century.
One thing that's interesting, weren't you the Minister of Police?
Yes, I have been.
And for how long?
2 years.
So you saw up front terrorism, you saw what can happen.
I was the Minister of Police and Internal Security during the Gulf War. I saw the missiles in Tel Aviv, the missiles all around, the missiles around the country. I was everywhere. The police was the first to come to every location of missile that followed, and I was there, I saw it. And I could understand also that wars now in the Middle East as well as anywhere else, it's not a war of territories. It's war of missiles, of long-range missiles. And we have to try very hard to, we must try to achieve peace that can be a better solution and better future for the Middle East, for the Jewish people in Israel, for the Arabs around Israel, in the Arab countries, for the whole region. This is the real future, peace.
All right, differentiate for me what your platform would be versus the Labour Party.
Yes, I'm in the center of the Israeli political map. I'm very in favor of freedom of choice concerning religion, but I'm not against religious people or religion. I'm myself. I'm
You're
traditional.
Bar mitzvah, right?
Not only I am going every Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'm in the synagogue, and I think that we have to respect everyone. Those who are Haredim, those who are religious, moderates, secular. Even atheists, everyone should be respected, Christian, Muslims in Israel, and this is a democratic country when you have freedom of choice. And concerning the peace process, I'm very strongly in favor of it, but still to do it very carefully, to take all the risks into consideration, but still not to stop it. We have to go forward. We have now in the Middle East the question whether the moderates are going to win or the extremists are going to win. And I met Crown Prince Hassan from Jordan 2 weeks ago, and he told me it's not only the problem of Israel, it's our problem in Jordan, it's a problem of Egypt, it's a problem of the Palestinians.
Fundamentalism.
The fundamentalism on one hand, and the question whether those who are supporting the moderate way, the moderates are going to win or the extremists are going to win. If the peace process is not going forward, there is a real danger that the extreme Islamic groups are going to win in the Arab world, and of course among the Palestinians in Jordan, in Egypt, and that can make a huge problem for all the region and of course for Israel. We need the peace for ourselves, not for anyone else, and we need the peace for the whole region because this is the future of the Middle East: prosperity, peace, better economy, better future for our children. And this is the reason that I decided to leave Tel Aviv and to try to be elected as Prime Minister to change the situation and to make life better.
When did this process start to take place in you? I mean, it's a tremendous process here. You didn't go to sleep one night and see the Bat Sheva dancers playing their Gatkis or not play at the Jubilee and say, I'm going to be mayor, because it was timed at the same time.
No, it's a long process. I hesitate for a long time whether to do it or not, and my wife, the Jew, was part of this hesitation. I didn't share it with anyone except her, and she told me at last that I have to take a decision between something that I would love to do, which is being mayor of Tel Aviv, and something that I feel that I should do. And this is to contribute to the state of Israel and to change the situation there in the state of Israel. And
you're on your way. We'll cut for a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more with Roni Milo. The process is interesting. How does a man take such a gutsy step? It's very unusual in the history, especially of Israel. I saw my friend Weitzman go down as defense minister, as Roni will tell you, on issues with Menachem Begin. I saw him resign from the Knesset, also on issues, maybe boredom, I think, at the Knesset. In any case, he walked away from seats. It's very unusual to see. We'll be right back, see why he did it.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover The Mystery of the Kaddish. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD and Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Moleh Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs and Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
We're back with gutsy Roni Milo, mayor of Tel Aviv, who's going to resign, and he's very popular. He's probably as strong as Ed Koch was in his second term, not his third term. Ed, you lost on the third term. And he could walk in and be the mayor of Tel Aviv and go to Hayarkon Street and be applauded by people because the beaches are great and Tel Aviv is a great city. It never sleeps, tra-la-la-la. He said, nah, I've got some feeling in me that the country's going down the drain, so I have a great city in a falling country, so I got to do something, and here he is. 50,000 signatures in Israel allows you to become a candidate for prime minister. You won't have any trouble with that, Roni, correct?
No problem. We have already more than 50,000 people that support us. According to the public opinion polls, we have today about 20% support.
Already?
Which is 600,000 people that already support us, more 650 out of 3.5 million people voters in Israel. And it's a huge support for the very beginning of my campaign. I didn't even start a campaign, basically. Nobody still know who is running with me to the Knesset.
Right.
And
you don't have a party.
I don't have a party yet even. I just invest a lot of efforts in organizing the new party, the new movement, I would say, to change the situation in the country now. And I'm also busy with fundraising for the efforts.
It's all money, Ronnie. We know that. I mean, at the end of the day, you need a lot of money. You remember the party that was formed by Yigal Yadin Dash. How many people did they take with them?
They had 15 seats in 1977.
Without them, we would not have had Camp David, for sure.
And you know that they had a tremendous success. They didn't go on with it very well. I mean, they didn't keep the party.
Shmuel Tamir,
Alan Rubinstein. I mean,
right,
they had a problem with too many leaders, maybe.
Exactly.
And therefore, they didn't get along very well. But still, their success in the elections was huge at that time. And they changed the situation in Israel. They brought the Likud into power after 29 years of the Labour Party.
Right.
Because people from the Labour Party could not join the Likud, but they could vote for them. And the same thing is with my party today. People from the Likud that are unhappy with Netanyahu, they cannot vote for the Labour, but they can vote for me. And therefore, I am the only chance to replace Netanyahu as a prime minister now, because I get support from both sides, from the Likud side that are upset with him, and for the Labour side that are willing to have a change and really change the political situation in Israel. And therefore, there are good chances to win.
But you got to explain this to the people. Today, under the new law, you're running for prime minister. And you're also going to have a party underneath you which will go to Knesset? Is that the idea?
You need both.
You need both.
You need both. But you need 51% for elected as prime minister. And you cannot, if there are 3 candidates, it's very hard to get it in the first round. So the question is, who is running the second round? If I can reach the second round, probably against Netanyahu, then I have a very good chance to win, because I take also part of the Likud supporters, and then all the others are going to join me.
All right, but we never marched through this. I had Gad Yacobi on here one time explain this law, but we've never seen it in play. When you do the runoff, who votes in the runoff? Is it the Knesset or the people?
The people.
It's another election.
Direct vote. The second round is directly by the people of Israel.
Yitzhak Rabin, may he rest in peace, came to me for some legal advice on this issue, and we scoured the world to try and find another place where there is a direct election prime minister. There is none. Did you know that?
Yes, but in the States you have direct elections for president.
Okay.
The difference between Israel and the States is the fact that in the States you have a constitution, you have a Senate and Congress, and then the president. And there is some kind of balance of powers
between the executive, judicial, and legislative.
That's right, the three major powers.
Right.
And here in Israel, the situation is totally different, and we don't have yet constitution.
Right.
We cannot, for example, if there is a strong power in the Knesset among the political parties of one stream, they can enforce everyone else to go with this way that they want to go. Without any way to avoid it. You know, Israel, maybe it's the only country in the world that sometimes the majority should use the High Court of Justice to defend their rights.
That's right. That's
because
right.
the minority sometimes with the political power, that are the balance of power in the Knesset, they can reach whatever they want, and the majority is not happy with it.
It's a very interesting point. Many times, and the Supreme Court gets angry at that in Israel, they try to force them to do legislative moves. And it's really, they don't want to do it. I know Aaron Barak, I've talked to him about it, and sometimes they get into such affairs there. Everybody goes with an injunction to the court, you know, and you're right. But do you think there's a chance for a constitution in Israel?
Only if there's going to be a new political structure in Israel.
Pluralism?
Because today, pluralism. Today, the problem is that the extreme Orthodox groups are not, don't want such a constitution, because they cannot get what they want with such way.
Right.
And therefore, you need to change the system. When I announced that I'm running for prime minister, I said that I want to get elected without the support of the extreme Orthodox groups. I want to get elected by the majority, by the secular people, by the religious people that are moderate, not by the extremists. I want to be a prime minister in Israel that will lead Israel towards the 21st century in a way that a democratic, liberal country should be. And this is the most important thing. You know, we must mention, this is a program that you have many people that watch it, many people in the States, and they should understand Israel is a great state. We have wonderful achievements during the last 50 years. We just celebrate 50th anniversary of Israel. It's a wonderful state with great achievements, with a great future. But we must keep it a democratic and liberal state. We must give our children a chance to live in peace in the region, without wars, without problems. We have to give the Israel chance to prosperity and to have better life in the country. And mainly, we must keep the freedom of choice for everyone to live in his own way. Otherwise, it will be very hard to keep Israel as we would like it to be.
There are many personalities in Israel that are center. Amnon Shachak is resigning, not resigning, he's finished his term, I think July, I saw him here, in the end of July. July. Have you approached him to run with you?
Not yet, because he's still in uniform as chief of staff, and
but you could have a lunch at Olympia with him.
Let's
try to get a scoop out of this.
I think that I wish that...
is he popular in the country?
Very popular, very popular. And I think that if he decides to join politics, I think that I would be very happy if he's joining me, and we can do it together the best way. I think that the team of Dan Meridor, Amnon Shachak, and myself is going to be a winning team in Israel, no doubt about it. We can have a great success in the elections for Prime Minister and also elections for the Knesset. We can have very strong representation in the Knesset and very good chance to get elected as Prime Minister. And I can tell you that when I had my first press conference, I said that I'm personally not obsessive about being Prime Minister.
I saw that. You said you'd give up your position if someone were more
That's
popular.
Right. If I'll see that somebody else like Dan Meridor or Shachak, they can win better than me, no problem with me. I want to do whatever I can for the state of Israel, for the future of the state of Israel. It's not a personal issue. If it would be a personal issue, I could stay a mayor of Tel Aviv.
That's right.
It's wonderful being mayor of Tel Aviv. I think that what's important to do now is to change the directions in Israel. The direction should be towards peace. The direction should be towards freedom of choice, towards liberal country, free country that all of us would like to have.
The day you announced, I was in Israel with Governor Pataki, and I was interviewing your best friend, Ehud Olmert. I said, Ehud, what do you think about Roni Milo running for Prime Minister? I think he's crazy. And I said, why? He says, he's a lovely guy. I love him. He's my friend. I know him for 35, 50 years. But why? How? I said, well, what about you? You want to run? Well, maybe too, you know. So we may have competition. We'll be back after break. I'm feeding some gossip on this show, but you know, it's not true gossip. It's very important because the leadership of Israel is extremely important, as it always has been. But you're going into the 21st century. India, Pakistan are bombing each other with nuclear, at least they're threatening each other. The world's crazy, and the satellite covers everything. So it's a new world. We got to watch it. We'll be right back.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover the mystery of the Kaddish.
We're back. We're talking to Roni Milo, the mayor of Tel Aviv, and giving it up all to become possibly the Prime Minister of Israel. Tell me, you know Bibi how long? I have to call him Prime Minister Netanyahu when you're here. I usually call him Bibi. How long do you know him, Roni?
I know him about 10 years more.
That's all?
15 years.
You didn't grow up with him because he
No,
was here
but-
in America.
Yes, but when he was the ambassador in the United Nations, I was deputy foreign minister.
Oh,
and
right.
we were working together, and I knew him for...
Did he call you after you announced?
No, he did not. But I know that he commented on it here and there. And
What's he say? Ronnie's a nice guy. We wish him all the luck.
No,
God
not
bless
really.
him.
Not really. I'm not sure about it.
If Meridor, Don Meridor's a pretty popular guy in the Likud side and a very idealistic guy. You know, it's the whole Prince business. Do you think that he would leave the Likud? You have to resign from Likud, don't you, to run?
Yes, but he wouldn't resign till he see what's going on with the government. If the government falls and loses the majority, then I think that he is going to leave the Likud unless Netanyahu will be replaced in the Likud, and I don't think that it's going to happen. So he said that he's not going to run with Netanyahu. And you know, we are speaking here between us, of course, in a very intimate atmosphere. We must ask ourselves, how come that so many people in the Likud cannot get along with the Prime Minister? Why Benny Begin resigned from the government? And you know, ministers don't like to resign. They like to sit in the government, to be part of it. Why Dan Meridor resigned from the government? Why Ehud Olmert is not happy with what's going on? Why myself, as a mayor of Tel Aviv, couldn't go on with Netanyahu? It is a real problem. And ask the old generation, like Yitzhak Shamir, the prime minister, like Moshe Arens, who was the mentor of Netanyahu for so long time.
Can you
And
explain that to me, by the way? I mean, Aaron's really created Netanyahu in a way. And Netanyahu never offered him a place in the government when he became prime minister. And I heard that he never even called him. Is this correct or incorrect?
I think that it's correct. And it's very painful, basically.
It's character.
because, you know, it's important to be prime minister. It's important to be influential in politics, but it's
be a
more
person.
important to be a human being,
Right.
a mensch, what we say.
Right.
And I think that this is the major issue. Someone that doesn't have this Menschlichkeit, this humanitarian approach to people, this warmness, this you know, emotion, cannot really judge properly things. You must. The brain is very important, and you must have it too. But you must have also emotions to understand the things that should be, the decisions that you should take. And we are dealing in such a complicated situation in the Middle East. The life of young soldiers. In Lebanon, we lost yesterday 2 soldiers.
Yesterday?
Yeah, yeah.
We're taping this on a Friday. I don't want to get people nervous, and we'll play it probably in 10 days, but it's still
Okay,
its
so
lives.
we are losing.
There was a body return today, by the way.
a
Ilya.
body return of Ilya, and we lose the soldiers. And you know, it's a hard place to live in.
Terrible.
And we at least must take all of it into consideration when we take decisions. It's not only a question of political survival. It's a question of the future of the state of Israel. And I have no doubt that Netanyahu would like to achieve better future for Israel also. But he must be more careful about the issues that we are really worried about. And it's not only a question of political survival. It's a question of the future of the state of Israel.
All right, if you were prime minister today, what would you do in the West Bank?
First of all, I would go forward with the peace process. I think that it's not important whether it's 13%, 12%, or 11.5%. This is not the important issue. The important issue is whether you believe that there is a possibility for having real peace with the Palestinians.
And you believe it?
I believe it. I think that the only option for the future of the Middle East is peace. And we had enough wars already during the last 50 years. And if you want better 50 years in the future, we must reach peace. And with the Palestinians, when they came to the conclusion that Israel, that they should live with Israel and not try to destroy Israel, we have to use this window of opportunity and to make with them peace, to be careful, not to let them terrorism or things that can make us troubles, but still to try to achieve peace with them. And I believe that the future depends with them on peace relations, and we can achieve it, and therefore this percentage is not the important issue.
What do you say, let me march you back in time. Natan Sharansky was in the Gulag at that time, and Weizmann was defense minister, and his wife Avital came to him and asked him to try and help him out. Who does Weizmann call? Leon Charney, to help him out, and we did help him. We brought it to Jimmy Carter, whom I was very close with. Carter brought it to Brezhnev. There are a lot of people who work for Sharansky's help. One of the issues I talk about on the show, you remember the name Bob Lipschitz, who was counsel to President Carter. He is a Reformed Jew. He worked assiduously to help Sharansky come out. I'm not saying he gets the credit or not, but he worked very hard. Now Sharansky has the opportunity to help Jews in this country with the conversion law, and he doesn't stand up for it. And a lot of people are very upset by that. I'm talking only not about Sharansky. I'm talking about political profiles, and I'm really giving you a backdoor compliment. Because the one thing that gives you credibility is that you gave up a chair. And Sharansky, and I talked to people around him, he thinks he's more effective in the government. You know, the old story, you're always more effective.
You know that the problem, I really don't feel very well to sit here and to criticize ministers in the government.
So
but
let's go to a ball game. The Mets are playing tonight.
But still, it's a show that the people watch it,
and
understand it, and
right.
they're
and we're not
familiar with
critical of anybody. If Bibi wants to come on, we bring him on gladly. I saw him in Israel. We give everybody the opportunity to speak.
Now, about Sharansky, the problem is not only the Jews here, the Reform Jews, the conservative Jews who are here, but the problem also is the Russians that he represents them.
Right.
And you know, you cannot imagine what kind of support I get now among the Russians in Israel.
Is that right?
Yeah, because they are so upset.
Betrayed.
About the fact that, about the conversion law, they have a lot of problems because of whether they are Jewish or not, how they are complete Jewish, Reform Jewish, Orthodox Jews. And they are worried, you know, that the extreme Orthodox Jews are not letting the Russian Jews to buy shinken in Israel. I don't like shinken, but freedom of choice is also to have the right to buy. One who wants to eat it can eat it. The one who don't want to eat it shouldn't eat it. One who wants to eat only kosher should eat only kosher. Another one that have other choices should choose whatever he wants. Why to try to avoid the freedom of choice from those Russian immigrants that came to Israel? It's so complicated to get absorbed. And you know, this
Shamir
is one
calls them the best thing that ever happened in Israel during his term.
It's the best thing that happened to us during the last 20 years, because these people gave to Israel great advantage concerning high-tech science industry, hospitals that got a lot of doctors, very good doctors, nurses, even the theaters in Israel, the music, the
chamber
culture.
music on every
chamber
corner.
music. You know, we have the Gesher Theater, the Russian theater in Israel.
Here.
It's the best theater, not only in Israel. I think it's one of the best in the world. They got such criticism in when they had been in England. Tremendous
good critics.
Good critics. Wonderful. Not, I mean, criticism from the critics. Right. Unbelievable critics. They were defined as one of the best theaters in the world. And these are people that came to Israel to build new life in Israel. They want free country. They want free choice. They want to live the way that they would like to live, as Jews in the homeland. But still, to be free there. They lost freedom in Russia. They had enough in Russia of compulsory commandments from the government and from different groups in Russia. Now they want freedom, and we must keep Israel as a free state to have all these people here, even the Americans, even the Reform Jews, the conservative Jews. They would like them to come to live in Israel, not only to visit Israel, but to live in Israel. We should give them a country that they can really be happy to live in. And this is the major issue that I would like to fight for, and to do it as a prime minister in Israel when I'm elected. This is the major issue.
All right, we're going to cut for a break, and we'll come back. I'm going to ask you a very interesting question, which I've asked a lot of Israeli politicians. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, and stay tuned. You all stay in tension until I ask them this question. Don't leave us.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at audible.com or on iTunes. Discover The Mystery of the Kaddish. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD in Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Molei Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs in Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
We're back talking with Roni Milo, the mayor of Tel Aviv, resigning, going to run for prime minister. You hear what he's talking about. He wants peace, plurality, and he wants everybody to have freedom of expression in the country. Religious, do what you want. The non-religious, do what you want. The atheists, do what you want. It's a pretty free country. Well, I'm going to ask you a question now. I asked Ehud Olmert and Rabbi Ravitz, what's a Jew?
First of all, a Jew is someone that defines himself as a Jew, that thinks that he's a Jew and believes that he's a Jew. And I think that the major issue is not whether he is Orthodox or Reform or Conservative, but when he considers himself as Jew and he behaves the way that a Jew should behave, I mean, be open and free and liberal. This is the Jew according to my point of view and according to the Bible. Then he is a Jew for me. And I think that the question whether the Reform Jew is going to the synagogue with his car on Saturday because he's living far away from the synagogue, this is not an issue whether he's a Jew or not. He is Jewish. He is more Jewish than those who are not going at all to the synagogue, but their mother and their grandmother were Jewish. The one that is going to the synagogue on Saturday by car, as a Reform Jew, is more Jewish for me than others that are not. And for me, there's those who are helping Israel. And the first time that I was in a Reform synagogue was, I think, in 1971. At that time, I was the president of the Israeli Student Union. And I was in LA, in Los Angeles, in the Stephen Wise Center. And I came to the synagogue, and for me, it was a real unbelievable experience, to see the singers, women and men, are together. I was used to an Orthodox synagogue when I was, differentiation between women and men, no singing women, no chazanit,
I'm a
cantorist.
I'm a cantor. So you know what they used to do? The Orthodox cantors, they used to look upstairs to see how the women were looking.
But for me, it was a very interesting experience. But when I heard at that time Rabbi Zeldin, the rabbi of the synagogue, which was the biggest in LA, when he spoke about Israel, when he spoke about Zionism, when he spoke about the love to the Jewish people and to the state of Israel, then I understood that the question is not whether you are Orthodox and anti-Zionist or you are Reform and pro-Zionist and pro-Israeli. The question is how you are acting and behaving towards Judaism, towards Zionism, and this is the major issue. And therefore, for me, the liberal reforms are not less good Jews than any other Jew. Surely they are good, even better than those anti-Zionist Jews that are not standing in Israel when there is Hatikva, singing Hatikva. They are not standing, and when there is the Memorial Day for all the victims that we had during the wars in Israel, Yom HaZikaron, they don't stand up when there is the alarm. It's really, for us, the Israelis, you cannot imagine the effect of it. And thus people are so unhappy. These guys are not joining the army. They are getting a lot of money from the country, not giving what they should give. And on the other hand, they are trying to enforce others to live in a way that they wouldn't like to live. I respect everyone. Everyone can live according to my point of view in his way. But I cannot accept someone that are trying to enforce me to live in a different way that I would like to. And this is the major issue now in Israel, and it's going to be the major issue in the next century. I'm sure about it.
All right, well, what about the army? What do you think should happen with these fellows who don't go in the army?
Look, it's a problem in Israel, because people are saying why we should not, split the burden on all of us. Why I should send my son to the army. He was 4 years in the army. He was an officer. He was in Gaza Strip. He risked his life. And there are others that are staying in the yeshiva and study, which it's very nice, but they can study after the army. They can study the evenings if they like. There are a lot of religious guys in Israel, religious youngsters, that are going to the army, and they are the best soldiers. You know, this, what we call the Chofshei Kippot Tzurgot, the Bnei Akiva youngsters. They are the best soldiers in the army, and they study Torah, and they pray every day, but still they are doing their obligations in the army. Why those who are the Orthodox extreme Hasidim, why they cannot do it? Why they cannot join the army like others and make a religious service within the army? You know that we keep in the army of Israel everything kosher, because I would like to give everyone the chance to serve in the army without any problem of kosher food. And we give everyone the chance to pray if he wants and to do whatever he wants. And this is the way that it should be done. And not that part of the Israelis are taking the burden upon themselves and the others are not.
If I were an Israeli, I'd be upset about that. It's not a level playing field, and people, I'm sure, are very upset about it. Obviously, I asked Rabbi Ravitz the same question, what is a Jew? We got a totally different answer.
Oh, sure.
He was a man, I'll tell you what, obviously what he said is a man who fulfilled 613 commandments. And he's a very clever guy, Ravitz, but that's his belief. I'm going to help you out now. I debated Kahani, the former JDL guy, on television one time, and he asked me what a Jew was, and I'm telling him that the Jew was two things to me. Hillel was a famous rabbi. You remember him. Derech Eretz Kodma Torah. Respect comes before the Torah. And v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love thy neighbor as thyself. If you follow those two concepts of Judaism, this basically puts you in the highest class and form of Judaism.
You know, I'm a supporter and a follower of Ze'ev Jabotinsky. Ze'ev Jabotinsky is considered to be a right-wing leader.
Right.
He was the most liberal leader
right?
among the Jewish leaders. He spoke about the freedom of choice. He spoke about not to try to enforce anyone to do things that he don't want to. He was very careful about social issues, the needs of everyone. He was a real liberal. He was against any kind of enforcement concerning religion or freedom of choice of anyone. And this is the real liberalism. It's not something that belongs to the left wing or to the center. It's belongs to everyone. Everyone that really believes that these are the values that we should behave according to. And I think that in the Bible itself, you can find liberalism.
I'm sure.
You can find human rights. You can find all these good things. You just have to look at it and not to ignore it and to try to find other things which are not the basic belief. That take the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, they are for all the good things that we believe in.
But how do you, and this is a big problem. I was asked to become a trustee of a university the other night, and we were talking about fundamentalism versus liberalism. And I asked, how do you bring those people who are really that fundamental into the mainstream of the world? How do you get them to be understanding and tolerant? I mean, I don't know the answer. Maybe you do. How do you get that? How does that happen?
I think that, first of all, you have to educate.
That's what he said. But I suppose you're educated in a fundamental way. Suppose you go to yeshiva and they tell you this is what you learn, and you become a smart man, you become a lawyer, a doctor, but you still believe in those articles of faith. They still haven't crossed the bridge. The president said the same thing you did. You have to educate. And
still you have to remember very well that when those are not in power, when the power is by the hands of the liberals and the progressive people, then it's not a problem even if you have a few extremists. You can have it in every society. It's also a democracy. Everyone has the right
I think
freedom
everybody
of
should
opinion
have,
and choice.
Right.
But still the question whether he tried to dictate others what to do, or whether he understands that he is a minority and he would let the major stream of liberalism, of freedom of choice to be the major power. And this is the major issue.
All right, we're going to cut for a break, come back for one more segment because we're getting a lot of mail on this one. Believe me, he's speaking the truth, and you're going to hear a lot. I'm going to hear a lot about this. But the show allows everyone to speak. We've had Rabbi Ravitz on, we even had Rabbi Hecht on, and why not Roni Milo, a man who may become the next Prime Minister of Israel.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover the mystery of the Kaddish.
We're back with Roni Milo, closing segment. He is running for Prime Minister, and he's going to form a party that's in the center of Israel's politic, and he thinks that Israel should be a free, democratic state where you can have both Haredim, which is very ultra-Orthodox, living alongside Reform Jews. Everybody should have an ability to do what he wants to do. It's sort of the 14th Amendment of the American Constitution. You're a lawyer, Roni, you know that.
Yeah.
You probably studied American law.
Also,
Right, Roni,
the Israeli system based on the English
You're
law.
in the news in Israel. A lot of people said to me, you know what, one thing that Roni has a problem with is once he leaves the mayoralty, how's he going to get publicity?
I'll come here and I'll be interviewed by you, and that's it.
That's a good idea.
But there's no problem. Believe it or not, a candidate for prime minister in Israel that get already 20% supporters can easily get to the press and to the media, to the TV.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
And, no problem at all. I'm not worried about it. The status that I have in the Israeli press and media and the public, because of it, is not because I'm mayor of Tel Aviv. But because I'm speaking freely, I say what I think directly, always without fear, without any problem. And then people would really appreciate the fact that I'm doing it. In Tel Aviv during the last 5 years, whatever I said here in this program, I did in Tel Aviv. The tolerance, the life together. You know, I have a coalition in the City Council of Tel Aviv, 30 out of 31 members of the coalition, including the religious people, the left people, the Likud people, the Labour people, all of them, Arab delegate from Jaffa, all of them members of one coalition, that we could live together in the city of Tel Aviv with tolerance, as I would like to see the state of Israel living.
I'm sure that there are people who wear yarmulkes and are, what we call modern Orthodox. I'm sure they'll join with you too.
There are a few of them that already told me that they're going to join, and
there are many who will feel that way. Yeah. I know that for a fact.
And of course, those who are not with, the Kippot Srugot, what we call those who are more liberal from the National Religious Party, the Mafdal, they already, according to the polls, 10% of the voters of the Mafdal said that they are going to vote for me, which means these are the moderates among the Mafdal that wants also freedom of choice for everyone. They want to live their own way, and they want others can live their own way also. And I think that it can get a lot of success and support from also religious people in Israel that understand that for the better future of the state of Israel, We must have freedom of choice for everyone.
I think a lot of people be shocked. I think you're right. I think the mainstream Orthodox liberal community would probably back a person like you. I don't think they're very happy with the Haredim. And it's become so rightist that people just don't feel comfortable. And especially after this Yigal Meir affair, that hurt a lot. All right, march me. When do you give up your chair, Ronnie?
November 10th of November are the elections, and then I think 6 weeks later, more or less, the new mayor will take his place.
All right, so 6 weeks after, you're free man. What happens now? What do you do exactly? How does it go?
I have my headquarters in Tel Aviv.
You have it already?
Next month we are going to have the new headquarters. I'm going to control the whole system with a very modern way with computers. I have 300 computers that were donated to me by a big donator from LA. He gave me these computers for all the activists, all the volunteers of the party around the country. They are going to be online to the center of the party. Yeah,
web pages.
This is the 21st century, and we are going to have everything controlled by the computer and be in touch with people all around the country. And we are going to work like a modern machine that is going to reach the people in the country, internet, the new systems. And this is going to be a real new creature in the Israeli political life that is going to change the structure of the Israeli political life.
All right, you need money to run, obviously. What does it cost to be a campaign like this?
I think that's about $12 million, which is a huge amount of
people
money.
outside of Israel will help you?
Sure, they're already helping, and they think that the problem is not only in Israel. If we want to have this cooperation between the diaspora and Israel, to have all the Jewish people, whether they are Reforms, Conservatives, or Orthodox, to be together with Israel, we must have this cooperation. We must do it together. And I expect a lot of support from abroad, and I get it already, a large part of it. And I have also support in Israel, very strong support. And I think that the financial problem can be solved. And now we have to convince the majority of Israel to vote for me. And I think that it also can be done.
What's the biggest surprise that happened to you since you announced?
The response of the people. You know, it was unbelievable. I'm going everywhere I'm going, and you know, I'm experienced in politics. I was 18 years I was in the parliament, in the Knesset. I was 8 years in the government, and I was 5 years mayor of Tel Aviv. By the way, almost always I was the youngest. I was the youngest member of Knesset in 77. I was re-elected in 81. I was still the youngest member of the Knesset.
How old were you when you went to the Knesset?
27 and 6 months. And then when we lost election in 1992, I was the youngest ex-minister ever have been in Israel. And when I was elected as mayor of Tel Aviv, I was the youngest mayor ever elected in the city of Tel Aviv. I'm not going to be the youngest prime minister because Netanyahu is only 1 month older than me, and he was already a prime minister. But still, I will be young when I'm.
So you're overwhelmed by the response. You didn't think it'd be this great.
Unbelievable response. For different, you know, parts of the Israeli society, mainly youngsters, people that are looking for a better future. Among the religious people also I get a lot of support, I mean the moderate religious people. Among the left people, the center people, even Likud supporters. I get 8% according to the polls from the Likud supporters, which is huge amount.
We got 30 seconds and we're out of here because we're out. 1 hour with you, went quickly. What was your biggest disappointment so far?
I didn't have one concerning my campaign, my candidacy. The response is wonderful.
So you haven't been disappointed?
The only thing that I'm quite disappointed is the fact that I have to leave Tel Aviv. I wish that I could stay the mayor of Tel Aviv and the prime minister of Israel together, because I love the city of Tel Aviv and I love being mayor. But probably it can be done, so...
Eyad Omar's trying to do with Jerusalem. I don't think he'll succeed, but he's on his way. Good luck, Ronnie. Come back and visit us when you're back in the States. And if I get to Olympia with a camera, I'll be there on a Friday afternoon. This is it. You heard it, man. We'll get the mail on this one, and we'll see you next week.